Here's Brody Brazil.
But the bigger picture here for the Sharks, looking back at these last few seasons, 101 points in those 82 games of 18-19, 63 points in 70 games, and then 49 points in 56 games last year. I mean, literally the Sharks had about as many points in 82 games as they have in their last 115 or so, 120. You can see where in regular seasons where they've fallen away from their mark. But the most important thing to know is that this team, this franchise, has never missed the playoffs 3 straight seasons. I mean, and this is going all the way back, obviously, to the early 90s, through expansion, through rough patches. This just goes to show you that they are in one of the most pivotal times right now in franchise history in terms of making the playoffs. And I realize that for some people and across really the entire 2010s, that was an expectation. I mean, there were so many opening nights for the Sharks where as soon as the puck got dropped, it meant they were basically in the playoffs. You could bank them for high 90s, low hundreds in the points, probably winning the division, if not being a pretty high seed in the Pacific or in the West. I mean, we look back now and they had great teams, but I think you realize that it's easy to be taking that for granted at the time when it's happening. But now that we're on the opposite end, yeah, and when I say they haven't made the playoffs each of the last 2 years, yeah, one season ended after 70 games, but they were well out of it. And last year, the abbreviated season and realignment with different divisions and travel was different. You only playing teams in your division. Yes, it was abnormal, very much so. But the bottom line is they were still not one of the better teams. They were not one of the upper half teams in the league to get into the playoffs. So they've never missed these Stanley Cup playoffs 3 years straight. And I think that brings you to the number one goal for this team. Now, despite what you'll hear, despite what players will tell you, despite what the organization ultimately shoots for, we know you shoot for the Stanley Cup every single season. We know that you go after players that way. We know that you market the opportunity that way. That's it. And that should be the ultimate goal. I think about anybody in their individual profession. Let's say you're a broadcaster and your goal is to host the Emmys. Well, that's great. That's the Stanley Cup, I suppose. But before you do that, I mean, there have to be other steps to get you to that ultimate goal. And I'm saying here, you can still shoot for the Stanley Cup. Keep that goal. But your primary thing this season has to be simply getting back to the playoffs. I'm not even saying turn the ship around. I'm not even saying make steps forward this year. I'm saying that the number one goal, it has to be getting to the playoffs. Playoffs or bust. And that's harsh. What do I mean by bust? I don't even know. It's just a phrase. It's a term of speech. But it really has to be that for this hockey club. Just get back to the playoffs. Punch your ticket. See what happens. And honestly, no matter what happens in a playoff situation, if the Sharks are there in late April, early May of 2022, that in itself will have been an accomplishment based on where they've been, some of the things they've been going through. I don't think there's any argument against that.